have a can of coconut milk in my pantry I pulled from Kroger 3 weeks ago and never opened. A neighbor swore by it for her weeknight curry. When I got home I turned it over and found potassium metabisulfite, a sulfite compound the FDA requires disclosed because it causes hives, throat constriction, and anaphylaxis. I set it on the counter where I can see it. My name is Linda Graves. I spent 14 years as a quality control auditor for a grocery distribution company in Columbus, Ohio. No brand relationships. No sponsored placements. Let us start. Number 9. Thai Kitchen Coconut Milk. The clean white can with blue script, sold at Walmart, Kroger, and Target as the simple approachable choice for weeknight curries and tom kha soup. Most shoppers do not know that Thai Kitchen is owned by McCormick, the large spice conglomerate. That detail does not appear anywhere on the packaging, and it changes the context of what you are actually buying. The standard non-organic version contains guar gum and comes in cans that are not certified BPA-free. But the larger documented issue is what FDA import alerts have repeatedly flagged on Thai coconut imports: sulfite residues used as preservatives during processing that do not show up on the finished product label. Think about what that means. The can opens with a sharp acidic edge under the coconut aroma. A few bites into the curry, there is a faint sting at the back of the throat. Most people blame the spice or the heat of the pan. It is the preservative. Sulfite sensitivity becomes more common with age. People with asthma, COPD, or diagnosed sulfite sensitivity can experience worsened breathing within minutes. For anyone on ACE inhibitors for blood pressure, sulfites can trigger unexpected pressure drops that resemble a fainting episode. The FDA requires sulfite disclosure when concentrations exceed 10 parts per million. Import alerts show Thai coconut shipments have routinely tested above that threshold. McCormick's response has been silence. No new supplier, no reformulation. Consumer habit is cheaper than change, and Thai Kitchen is counting on that. Authentic on the label. Flagged in the regulatory records. That gap is worth knowing before you buy. Number 8. Silk Coconut Milk. The half-gallon carton in the dairy aisle. The one that signals plant-based wellness from across the refrigerator section. Silk markets its coconut milk as the heart-healthy low-calorie swap for coffee, cereal, and smoothies, stocked at eye level in virtually every American grocery store. Then you read the ingredient panel. Silk coconut milk contains less than 2% actual coconut cream. 2%. Everything else is filtered water, gel-on gum, locust bean gum, and in older formulations carrageenan, a seaweed-derived thickener that peer-reviewed research has linked to intestinal inflammation. The flavored varieties add 8 to 14 grams of sugar per cup. That is more sugar than a chocolate chip cookie, poured into the coffee someone switched to specifically because they wanted to be healthier. The vitamin D is synthetic D2, not D3. The body absorbs D3 significantly more efficiently, a distinction that matters more with every decade past 50, where vitamin D directly affects bone density, immune response, and cardiovascular function. Pour silk into hot coffee and it curdles at the edges. That is the gel-on gum failing under heat. The chalky aftertaste that lingers is locust bean gum. The faint metallic note underneath is the synthetic vitamin solution. Emily switched to silk about 2 years ago when she started paying more attention to what she was putting in her morning coffee. She called me after about a month to ask why she kept feeling thirsty after breakfast. I asked her to read me what was in her coffee creamer. That was the end of silk in her kitchen. For anyone managing type 2 diabetes, using silk daily as a coffee creamer can move A1C readings in the wrong direction over time. And for people taking metformin, carrageenan has been shown in published research to interfere with that drug's absorption. So the creamer chosen for health reasons may be working against a prescription taken for the same reason. 2% coconut. $7 a carton. Sold to people who thought they were making the smarter swap. Number 7. Goya Coconut Milk. The blue and yellow can. A fixture in American kitchens across 3 generations. Not because of advertising, but because of genuine trust built over decades in Hispanic households across the country. Grandmothers reach for it. Their daughters reach for it. Their granddaughters are reaching for it right now without a second thought. That depth of loyalty is exactly why this is worth knowing. Independent ingredient analysis has flagged Goya's canned coconut milk for containing polysorbate 60, an emulsifier that animal studies have linked to gut inflammation. Right next to it on the label is guar gum, a thickener associated with digestive problems, particularly in older adults whose intestinal lining becomes more vulnerable with age. Then there is the can itself. Goya cans have historically been lined with BPA, bisphenol A, a compound that migrates into fatty, acidic contents like coconut milk. That migration speeds up when cans sit on a warm pantry shelf for weeks or months, which is exactly where most people store them. For someone managing blood pressure, taking blood thinners, or dealing with IBS, this combination matters more than a quick label scan would reveal. Polysorbate 60 can compromise the gut lining. Guar gum slows medication absorption. BPA mimics estrogen and disrupts the endocrine system in ways that take years to show up on a lab panel. Goya pulls in over $1 billion a year. The science on BPA has been public for years. Removing polysorbate 60 and guar gum would not meaningfully change their production cost. The decision to keep those ingredients is sustained by the fact that a 3-generation customer base trusts the label without reading it. The thyroid issues and gut problems showing up in that demographic keep getting called age-related. They are not. They are ingredient-related. Number 6. Taste of Thai coconut milk. The Slimkin. Restaurant quality positioning. The brand that promises Bangkok-level flavor in 20 minutes, aimed at home cooks who want something a step above the standard supermarket options. The marketing is effective. The ingredient profile does not support the premium. Independent analysis of imported Thai coconut products has detected traces of inorganic phosphate additives, compounds added during processing to extend shelf life and stabilize texture. They are not naturally present. They are introduced, and they carry real consequences for certain buyers. For anyone managing chronic kidney disease, a condition affecting a significant share of Americans over 65, added inorganic phosphates accelerate bone mineral loss and vascular calcification. Aging kidneys cannot efficiently clear excess phosphates. Instead of being filtered out, they accumulate. They pull calcium from bone. They stiffen arteries in people already taking statins to keep those same vessels flexible. The light version makes it worse. It is thinned with water and additional stabilizers, which dilutes the medium-chain fatty acids that give coconut milk its only genuine nutritional value. You are paying for coconut. What is actually in it is phosphate water with most of the lauric acid, the immune-supporting fat that makes coconut milk worth consuming, removed to hit a price point. The Slimkin looks premium. The contents are a diluted version of an already compromised product. That is not what most people think they are paying for. Number 5. 365 by Whole Foods Coconut Milk. The house brand of the store that built its entire retail identity around the promise of cleaner food. Bearing a Whole Foods label communicates that someone already checked, that the store's standards extend to everything inside it. Here is what that trust is actually resting on. 365 coconut milk is co-packed by third-party manufacturers in Thailand. The FDA import alerts that flag Thai Kitchen for undisclosed sulfite residues apply to the same category of Thai coconut suppliers producing 365. Same processing infrastructure. Same sourcing region. Same regulatory flags. Different label, different shelf, higher implied trust. The standard non-organic version contains guar gum. Independent analysis has placed its actual coconut content at approximately 60%. Better-performing brands in this category deliver 80% or higher. At 60%, the rest of that can is water and stabilizer, packaged in Whole Foods branding and priced to reflect the store's reputation rather than what is actually inside. Open a can. The cream is thinner than it should be. It separates faster than expected. The coconut flavor arrives for a second, then fades almost immediately because there is not enough coconut present to carry it. Lauric acid, the medium-chain fat that supports immune function and cardiovascular health in adults past 50, is only present in proportion to the coconut content. 60% coconut means 60% of the nutrition you came for. A shopper who chooses 365 over a store brand at a regular supermarket because Whole Foods feels inherently safer is paying a premium for a label. The can in their Whole Foods bag came from the same supply chain, the same processing concerns, and the same regulatory environment as the options they specifically went there to avoid. Same factory, different sticker. A trust premium the contents do not come close to earning. Number 4. So Delicious Coconut Milk. The wellness brand. The Instagram staple. Stocked at Whole Foods, Sprouts, and natural grocers at a price that implies something better is inside. So Delicious specifically targets the consumer who reads labels, the one paying more because they have already ruled out what is in the cheaper carton. The ingredient panel does not reward that trust. It contains gel-on gum, locust bean gum, and one of the most exploited regulatory designations in processed food: natural flavors. That category is legally permitted to conceal MSG derivatives, glutamate compounds, and processed sodium without any of those ingredients ever appearing on the label by name. What is underneath it is not something brands are required to disclose. I am not speculating here. I have read the supplier contracts. I have been in the warehouses. This is what the paperwork says about how natural flavors functions as a category. It is an opacity clause, and it is used deliberately by formulators who want the sensory effect of an ingredient without the disclosure obligation that would come with naming it. Several flavored varieties contain more added sugar than a standard Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola delivers 26 grams. Some So Delicious flavored varieties exceed 28. That is not plant-based wellness. That is a sweetened beverage in carton packaging with a coconut tree on the front. Open the carton and there is an artificial sweetness in the aroma before you have poured anything. After drinking it, there is a slick, almost adhesive texture on the lips from the gum combination. And there is a lingering thirst afterward, counterintuitive for a beverage, caused by hidden sodium at the cellular level. For anyone managing blood pressure, that concealed sodium can push systolic readings within hours. For anyone stabilizing their A1C, the daily sugar load makes the job harder every single morning. $6 a carton. Purchased by people trying to actively manage the exact conditions this product is quietly aggravating. Number 3. Choco Coconut Milk. The orange and white can with the smiling coconut. One of the highest volume brands in American Asian grocery markets, and until recently a Costco staple, specifically sought out for its unusually thick, almost custardy texture. In 2021, Costco, Wegmans, and Stop & Shop all pulled Choco from their shelves. The reason? Investigations by PETA and subsequent confirmation from the Thai government established that Choco's supply chain relied on forced monkey labor. Pigtail macaques, taken from their mothers as infants, chained and trained to climb trees and throw coconuts down for shifts of up to 16 hours a day. When that became public, major retailers made the decision to walk away. Choco did not disappear. It shifted to smaller retailers and online platforms where awareness of those findings is lower. The smiling coconut kept smiling. But the sourcing issue is not the only concern. Choco cans have tested positive for BPA migration, the same endocrine-disrupting compound that runs through much of this list. The specific risk here is insulin disruption. BPA mimics estrogen at the hormonal level, which interferes with insulin signaling in ways that are especially problematic for adults who are pre-diabetic or managing insulin resistance. That thick cream people loved is coconut fat sitting in a BPA-lined can for months in a warehouse. I have seen this in writing. This is not something I am guessing at. The migration pathway for bisphenol into high-fat contents under extended storage is documented in the compliance literature I reviewed during my audit work, and the numbers are not reassuring. Fat absorbs BPA more readily than water. Coconut cream is almost entirely fat. Every additional week in storage means more migration into the contents. Sanitation records from Choco's parent company have also flagged recurring concerns: mold contamination in processing facilities and water quality issues at the source. Pulled from Costco. Still on Amazon. Still on shelves in stores where customers never saw the headlines. Number 2. Native Forest Coconut Milk. The earth-toned label. The eco-conscious packaging. Sold at Whole Foods and natural grocers, aimed precisely at the consumer who already does the research, who reads ingredient panels, questions supply chains, and pays extra because they believe the product reflects those values. Native Forest built its reputation on one specific promise: BPA-free cans. For shoppers trying to avoid the endocrine disruption concerns tied to conventional can linings, that was a meaningful differentiator. It is also only half the picture. Independent testing by the Clean Label Project found measurable levels of bisphenol S, BPS, in Native Forest cans. BPS is what the canned food industry switched to after BPA's hormonal effects became too well documented to defend. The problem is that published research is now raising the same concerns about BPS. Comparable endocrine disruption, similar associations with insulin resistance, similar effects on thyroid function. The industry swapped one bisphenol for another and called it an upgrade. This is not alarm. This is what the audit trail shows. BPS replaced BPA across the canned food sector not because it was proven safer, but because BPA's documented profile created liability that BPS had not yet accumulated. The research gap closes every year. BPA-free on the label is technically accurate. It is also strategically incomplete. The product also contains guar gum, which has a documented interaction with levothyroxine, the most prescribed thyroid medication in the United States. Guar gum can reduce effective drug absorption by up to 30% within a single dose window. Someone who takes their thyroid medication in the morning and uses Native Forest at lunch is not getting the full benefit of that prescription. The consumer who chose this brand specifically to avoid bisphenol exposure has been getting a different bisphenol the entire time. Same hormonal disruption mechanism. Quieter chemical name. Nicer logo. And the demographic most likely to buy Native Forest is also the demographic most likely to be managing hypothyroidism and taking the exact medication that guar gum undermines. They read everything on the label. They just could not read the chemical disclosure buried in a corporate document that almost no one will ever find. Number 1. Trader Joe's Coconut Cream. The $3 can. The cult following. The one that shows up in recipe posts, gets tagged in food blogs, and gets recommended in cooking communities with genuine enthusiasm. Emily brought a case of these back from a Trader Joe's run about 18 months ago because a food blog she follows called it the best coconut cream you can buy for the price. She makes curry with it regularly. I did not say anything until I sat down to research this video. Trader Joe's has built one of the most loyal consumer bases in American retail around a feeling that you are getting something honest, something the big chains cannot match. Here is what is actually in the can. Potassium metabisulfite. Potassium metabisulfite is a sulfite compound used here as a preservative. The FDA requires sulfite disclosure on food labels for one specific reason. Sulfites are associated with serious, sometimes life-threatening reactions. Hives, throat constriction, asthma attacks, anaphylaxis. Sulfite sensitivity becomes more common with age. By 60, roughly 1 in 10 adults experiences some form of sulfite reaction, often without ever identifying the source. The ingredient is listed on the label. It is there in small print in the ingredient panel, in a spot most shoppers skip because they trust the brand and the recipe blogs have never flagged it. But here is what it does. Open the can and beneath the coconut there is a sharp chemical note that does not belong in a pure coconut product. A few spoonfuls in, a mild scratch at the back of the throat. For someone with developing sulfite sensitivity, a headache follows about an hour later. Most people attribute it to stress, dehydration, or the spice level of the dish. The can never enters the picture. For anyone on corticosteroids for arthritis or COPD, two of the most common conditions in adults over 50, sulfites can interact with those medications in ways that reduce their effectiveness or worsen the respiratory symptoms the medication is supposed to control. For someone with adult-onset asthma, which frequently develops in the 5th or 6th decade of life, a sulfite exposure from a weeknight curry can be enough to require medical attention. The cans are also not certified BPA-free, placing Trader Joe's coconut cream in the same category as every industrial brand on this list, just with a more approachable aesthetic and a fan base large enough to absorb the criticism when it surfaces. Trader Joe's earns billions annually. Sourcing coconut cream without sulfite preservatives is achievable. Certifying the cans BPA-free is achievable. The choice not to do either is exactly that. A choice made by a profitable company protected by loyalty strong enough that most customers never connect their symptoms to the can. $3. Cult following. A required by law disclosure in small print while the recipe blogs keep recommending it. Most people never put those two things together. Now here are the two that actually held up. Best option 2. Native Forest Organic Simple Coconut Milk. Same parent company as number 2 on the avoid list. Completely different product. That distinction is the entire point. Native Forest's Simple line was created specifically to address the ingredient failures of their standard product. The ingredient panel reads: organic coconut water. That is the complete list. No guar gum, no polysorbate, no locust bean gum, no carrageenan, no natural flavors functioning as a sodium delivery system. Nothing that is not coconut. The cans are documented as both BPA-free and BPS-free, with third-party testing published by the manufacturer to back it up. That level of transparency is genuinely rare in this category. Not rare as a marketing claim, rare as an actual verified practice. The product is USDA organic certified and non-GMO project verified, meaning the coconuts are grown without the synthetic pesticides that have created recurring concerns across non-organic Thai supply chains. Open a can and the cream is thick, nearly solid at room temperature. That is what real coconut cream does before it has been cut with stabilizers or diluted to hit a lower cost target. The aroma is clean and tropical. No chemical edge, no sulfur sting at the back of the throat. Pour it into hot soup and it dissolves smoothly. No gum residue breaking down under heat, no separation, no foam from failing stabilizers. The coconut flavor carries through the full bite because there is actually enough coconut there to sustain it. For anyone on levothyroxine, the absence of guar gum means the medication absorbs the way it is supposed to. For families managing blood pressure or insulin resistance, documented BPA-free and BPS-free cans remove the endocrine disruption concern from the equation entirely. $4 to $5 per can. About $1 more than most of the brands on the avoid list. Given what you are actually getting in return, that comparison is not close. Best option 1. Oroide Pure Coconut Milk in Tetra Pak. Finding a cleaner ingredient list matters, but the most effective move here is not a better label. It is getting rid of the can altogether. Oroide sells its coconut milk in shelf-stable Tetra Pak cartons. That one decision eliminates the BPA and BPS problem at the source. No metal lining, no bisphenol migrating into the fat over months of storage, no trace chemical aftertaste in your curry. The contamination pathway that runs through nearly every other product on this list simply does not exist here. The ingredient list has 2 items: coconut extract and water. No gums, no stabilizers, no sulfites, no carrageenan, no natural flavors masking sodium. Lab analyses of Oroide consistently show coconut content around 85%. The Whole Foods 365 product came in at 60%. The diluted light version of A Taste of Thai is lower. The gap in what you are actually receiving, real coconut versus filler, is substantial enough to show up in every recipe you use it in. Oroide is available at H-Mart, Asian grocery stores, and online. The carton format also solves a practical problem most people do not think about. You use exactly what the recipe calls for, seal the carton, and refrigerate the rest. No half-open metal can sitting in the fridge developing rust around the rim for 2 days. Open a carton and pour some into a glass. The cream moves slowly, the way coconut milk with real fat content behaves. It coats the inside of the glass. The aroma is clean, unmistakably tropical, nothing synthetic underneath it. Heat it in a pan and it emulsifies smoothly into curry, the way coconut milk has worked in Southeast Asian kitchens for centuries, before the era of gums and sulfite stabilizers arrived to make the industrial version cheaper to produce. 0 sulfites. Relevant for anyone whose sensitivity has grown more pronounced with age. No guar gum, no carrageenan, no hidden sodium. Relevant for anyone on thyroid medication, blood pressure drugs, or corticosteroids where absorption and drug interaction matter. $3 a carton. Less expensive than several of the brands on the avoid list. Higher actual coconut content than almost anything else available. No can lining to worry about. If you want the full brand comparison in a format you can take into the store, the shopping guide is linked in the description. It covers this category and several others. Tonight, check whatever can or carton is in your pantry. Look for guar gum. Look for potassium metabisulfite. Look for carrageenan polysorbate 60, and locust bean gum. Look for natural flavors and ask yourself what is actually underneath that category, because the brand is not required to tell you. The two worth keeping. Native Forest Organic Simple Aneroid D in the Tetra Pak. Both say exactly what they are. Both have removed the concerns that every other brand on this list chose to live with. The labels on those 9 cans have not changed. The research behind these concerns is not new. What changes now is what you know when you are standing in that aisle. One more thing before you close this out. If a brand on the avoid list is currently in your pantry, drop a comment with what you are switching away from. I work through every response, and the patterns that come up shape what I cover next. Which brings me to next week. Olive oil brands. There are 6 names in that aisle that are not what their labels say they are, and 2 that actually passed independent testing. Subscribe now so that video reaches you when it goes up.